Jonathan Lemire just mentioned, the Biden administration has just unveiled new details of its infrastructure plan. The update comes ahead of the president's trip to Pittsburgh today to promote the more than $2 trillion economic package. Included in that figure is money allotted for transportation infrastructure, such as roads, bridges, and highways, also investing in broadband, clean water, the electric grid, and affordable housing. Money will also go to promoting the health care workforce and manufacturing. The plan would be spread out over an 8-year period and raise the corporate tax rate for 15 years from 21 to 28%. The plan does not include an increase in capital gains taxes. An administration official tells NBC News that the White House has already started to reach out to Democrats and Republicans on the Hill. This is part one of Biden's Build Back Better agenda, as the administration aims to push through another initiative focused on health care and other social welfare programs.
So, Yamiche, even though Joe Biden's going to try to pay for part of this by taxing corporations, trying to pull back on some of the tax cuts that Donald Trump gave to the wealthiest Americans and the biggest corporations in America, and had Amazon ending up paying zero in taxes, income taxes last year. The Republicans obviously are going to start pushing back. Does Joe Biden, does the Biden team expect this to be, once again, a Democratic-only bill as far as yes votes go?
White House officials, as of now, are saying that they want this to be a bipartisan bill. They're saying that infrastructure should be a bipartisan initiative. They are detailing, as you just put up, a number of the things that they want to use this money for: roads, bridges. They really want to invest in the structure of this country. And this is, they say, it's going to really benefit not just Democratic districts, of course, but Republican districts. And Americans all over this country have heard for the last 4 years another administration, the previous administration, talk about Infrastructure Week in some ways as a sort of distraction from all of the different things that were going on during the former Trump administration. And now here they are with a robust infrastructure bill saying, Republicans, you should be able to get on board. That being said, this is still, of course, a very polarized Washington. Republicans have not seemingly wanted to talk very much to this administration about getting things through Congress. A lot of that is because we're already in some ways in this 2022 cycle where Republicans are eyeing trying to wrestle back control of the Senate and maybe even control of the House. So I think it's still very, very iffy whether or not Republicans will actually get on board with this. You already see Majority Leader Chuck Schumer trying to get a second reconciliation bill through the Senate, trying to figure out what are the ways that Democrats can do things by going it alone. That being said, I think you're going to at least see what we saw last time with the Biden administration, and that is trying to reach out to Republicans, possibly bringing them into the White House to talk, to have very public conversations about how to get Republicans on board. But I also suspect that if Republicans, once again, don't want to get on board, that President Biden and the White House will try to go it alone and say again that Republicans are being obstructionists. And of course, Republicans will say that this will probably be too bloated and it's too filled with Democratic goals.
Yeah, Jake Sherman, I think the last time any Republicans voted for tax increases in Congress, probably you'd have to go back to George H.W. Bush's budget deal, which some of the conservatives bolted from. Then, of course, Bill Clinton raised taxes in '93. No Republicans voted for those taxes, and they took control of Congress the next year for the first time in 40 years. I don't see Republicans voting for any tax increases. That doesn't mean that's the right position to take. Doesn't mean that maybe some of those Trump tax cuts that went to the super wealthy should be clawed back. But do you hear of any Republicans considering voting for an infrastructure bill that raises taxes on anybody?
No, there's literally no chance that any Republicans are going to vote for this. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with the White House going it alone. But we need to be honest here about what's going to happen. They're going to play the game. And there's nothing wrong with this game, again, but they're going to reach out to Republicans and they're going to try to get them on board. But Republicans are going to have the binary of helping a president of the other party with a $2.5 trillion package or running against tax increases. increases in 2022 when they're almost certain, based on history, to win back the House of Representatives. So I don't anticipate one Republican will vote for this in the House, and almost certainly not in the Senate either. Listen, the Democrats are taking the position at this point. There's two ways to govern when you have all three branches of government. You could try to preserve the majorities you have, or you could use the majorities you have to do big things. Democrats are doing the latter. And what we lead at the top of Punchbowl News this morning is that Nancy Pelosi, in a private conference call the other day with her caucus, said she wanted this bill done by July 4th in the House of Representatives. That's 92 days from now and just 6 legislative weeks away. So she's taking a very aggressive stance here, and I think you're going to have to we're going to have to see how this plays out. But this is, Joe, the next 4 to 6 months of our life, this kind of big legislative package, which is being compared by the White House to the space race. That's the ambition that they see here. And I just want to make one note on the tax and spend side. This spends money over 8 years, but pays for it over 15 years. So that means that if those taxes are eventually repealed, we just go into further deficit. So a lot of moving pieces here, and this is just the plan. The Congress has not weighed in on this yet.
Yeah, and Willie, we've been talking about Republicans looking through the lens of Barack Obama's presidency, through the lens of 2009 and past that. The Tea Party lens, saying no to absolutely everything, thinking that's enough. They already said no to $1,400 stimulus checks to Americans. They already said no to a bill that had 75% support among Americans. Again, I think they're looking back at the 2009-2010 model. I personally think that's a mistake. And I think Republicans may be repeating the same mistake here, where Democrats are going back and they're going to go after some of those Trump tax cuts that were disproportionately targeted at the richest Americans, the biggest corporations. And I'm not so sure that campaigning to protect the richest Americans, the biggest multinational corporations that pay 0% income tax every year, I just don't see that as a winner for the Republican Party. And I'm not sure they don't keep doubling down on a bad strategy. Yeah, and they voted almost unanimously against the previous stimulus, the $1.9 trillion COVID stimulus, despite the fact that it was 70 to 75% popular in the country. And Jake, I just want to ask you quickly about reconciliation. How many times can Democrats go back to this well? If they want to push forward, they got the $1.9 trillion through with reconciliation. If they want to do another $2 trillion of infrastructure through, can they just keep pushing through reconciliation, or is there a max on how often they can do this?
The quick answer is yes and no. There is a max. It's typically they have one more shot at this. Chuck Schumer's trying to give them 2 shots. Don't know if that's going to work. Just really quickly, I see all of this infrastructure stuff coming in one big bill at the end of September. So I think we're concentrated on how many packages are going to move. I imagine everything's going to move in one package toward the end of the third quarter of the year.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.